A customer had me sharpen this Nakiri style Japanese knife with 3 major chips in it. They tried to chop into a frozen piece of chicken and just severely damaged this blade. So I'll show you my process for removing all the chips and make this razor sharp. First thing I'm doing is cooling the knife off with some water because we're going to take off a lot of metal and I don't want to overheat the knife and ruin the temper of it. So I'm using a coarse 50 grit belt to remove all the chips first before I sharpen it. I could feel the knife heating up a little bit, so back in the cold plunge the knife goes. A few more passes with this belt to remove all the chips, and then we'll get to sharpening. Here's how the knife looks after I remove all the chips from it. The next step I'm going to do is thin the knife out, so I'm going to drop it to 10 degrees, and I'm going to remove metal on both sides to make sure the knife is thin enough to cut. I'm using a 120 grit belt to go back and forth to remove enough metal to thin the knife, and then I'll sharpen it at 15 degrees. Once the knife is thinned properly, I'm going to sharpen the knife at 15 degrees, starting with a 120 grit belt, and I'm making sure I apex the knife. The 600 grit belt is a medium coarse belt that still removes material from the knife's edge, but it's also smooth enough to remove any coarse scratches or imperfections left by the rough 120 grit belt. This 1200 grit belt polishes the edge and creates a very smooth cutting surface. The final step is to remove the burr, so I'm using my leather wheel with a 2 micron diamond emulsion to create a razor sharp edge.